Why are you here? A fancy French restaurant is way too good for someone like you.
The loud voice of Jessica, the only daughter of my boss, Robert Smith, echoed through the restaurant. My daughter, Emily, looked down. My wife wrapped an arm around Emily's shoulders and glared at Jessica. I couldn't understand why we had to endure such insults. Poor Emily. Even though I felt a strong sense of anger, as our family tried to leave the restaurant, Robert chuckled and said,
"Do you really think a kid from someone with such a basic education like you could get into the same kind of university as Jessica?"
From behind him, Robert's wife and Jessica burst into laughter. My wife and I hurried out of the restaurant with Emily. Robert's condescending attitude wasn't new, but I couldn't hide my rage. However, the Smith family had no idea what was about to happen. My name is Kevin Johnson. I'm 45 years old, and I live with my wife and our beloved daughter, Emily. My wife and I are high school classmates and got married when we were 24, but we struggled to have kids for a while. Emily was the miracle who came into our lives. She was the most adorable baby. The saying "I wouldn't mind getting poked in the eye with her" felt totally true at that moment. Since then, I've always wanted to prioritize my wife and daughter over career advancement. When Emily was born, I took parental leave so I could raise her together with my wife. If Emily ever came down with a fever, I'd drop everything at work and rush to her side, and I always took time off to actively participate in her school events. Because of that, even now at 45 years old, I've remained a regular employee without any promotions, but in return, I've been able to be closely involved in my child's growth. I have absolutely no regrets, and my wife has always stood by my side. However, not everyone was supportive of me.
Hey, this report is wrong. You take too much time off for someone with such a weak education. People with a basic education like you should work harder than someone like me with a degree.
My boss, Robert Smith, the head of the sales department, always treated me harshly. Robert was my age but graduated from a prestigious state university, making him what people would call an elite employee. On the other hand, I joined a company with just a high school diploma. This spring, I finally achieved my dream of working at headquarters of the company. Honestly, I never thought I'd get the chance to work at headquarters with my level of education. So, when the transfer was decided, I was beyond thrilled. However, the headquarters was full of elite employees with impressive resumes from top universities. Among them, Robert was respected not only because he graduated from a famous university, but also because of his exceptional work performance. Since the day I transferred to headquarters, Robert had been tough on me. At every opportunity, he would call me undereducated and look down on me. I tried to let Robert's words go in one ear and out the other. If I took his comments seriously every time, my mental health would be at risk. But Robert's attitude toward me grew worse day by day.
"Kevin, where's my coffee?"
"I'll go get it right now."
"Man, people with a basic education are so slow."
Robert ordered me around like a servant. I became completely subservient to him. The environment at headquarters was far from what I had envisioned, and I gradually became completely worn out.
"Dad, drink this."
When I got home, Emily handed me an energy drink. She gently massaged my shoulders and said, "Your shoulders are so tense. Don't overwork yourself, okay?" What a kind child she is. Emily is my greatest source of comfort. As I was smiling at her sweetness, my wife, Sarah, entered the room.
"Sweetheart, We need to talk.
Sarah had a serious expression as she looked at me. I sat down on the sofa in the living room.
Today, Emily's homeroom teacher suggested, why not aim for the prestigious university for Emily?
She spoke as she poured me a warm cup of coffee. The university in our area is known as top destination for outstanding high school students. The professors there are also highly regarded and have an excellent reputation. It's a place everyone dreams of attending. I understood what Sarah was saying. Emily has always loved studying and would spend her free time learning on her own, even from a young age. She consistently earns top grades and is frequently praised by her teachers. So, it wasn't at all strange to consider that she could apply to the university. I was fully supportive of the idea. However, the most important thing was how Emily felt about it. Emily, do you want to apply to the university your teacher recommended? Emily thought for a moment and quickly answered, yes.
The teacher said it's a place where I can study as much as I want. I want to go there and learn everything I can.
I see. Then let's aim for that university. I made my decision after hearing Emily's feelings. Both Emily and Sarah looked delighted. Then, Emily sat down next to me.
And, well, I'm not very good at math, so I'd like to go to a tutoring center to overcome that.
She spoke with an apologetic look on her face. Of course, I immediately answered, it's okay, you can go to tutoring. I wanted to do everything I could for Emily. Her eyes lit up at my words.
Thank you, Dad. I'll do my best.
With that, she went straight to her room and started studying. As I watched her, I felt even more determined to work harder for my family. The following week, Emily started attending tutoring sessions.
I made a new friend at tutoring. She's aiming for the same university, too.
Emily told me excitedly. I smiled as I watched her, feeling proud. Even though she studied late into the night every day, she always seemed happy. She never complained once about the workload. She really does love studying. Watching Emily like that made me feel that I needed to push myself harder, too. However, at work.
Kevin, are you the one who put together this report?
No, it wasn't me.
Who else but you would create such an incomprehensible report?
Being blamed for things I didn't do was an everyday occurrence. No matter what I say, Robert's not going to listen to me anyway. I'm sorry. All I could do was apologize. That day, as usual, I was being bossed around by Robert. Enduring this kind of treatment day after day was truly unbearable. Just then, Robert came over to my desk.
I heard you had good sales numbers at the branch office. If that's true, go pitch to this client.
He tossed a file onto my desk. I picked up the file. Robert smirked and said, if you manage to land a contract with this company, I'll reconsider my opinion of you. But honestly, I doubt you can pull it off. He laughed through his nose, clearly mocking me. If I can secure this contract, maybe Robert will stop treating me like his errand boy. For the first time, I felt a faint glimmer of hope. As I returned to my desk and started reviewing the documents Robert had given me, my desk mate, Mark, spoke up. Mark was over a decade younger than me. He wasn't from a top university, but he was a college graduate and one of the most capable employees. Unlike Robert, Mark never looked down on me. He was kind.
That's Riverside Trading, right?
Mark furrowed his brow. Right. Do you know them? Mark suddenly lowered his voice.
Riverside Trading is known for having a notoriously difficult CEO. That's why no one wants to pitch to them. Why did you agree to take this on?
So that's why Robert handed this to me, because no one else wanted to deal with it. It all made sense to me. It might be tough, but I'll give it my best shot. With that, I immediately started doing some research. Interesting. This company seems to be in need of this product. If that's the case, I devised a strategy to secure the contract successfully. Then, I began drafting the proposal documents. Mark, who was sitting beside me, asked, "Is there anything I can do to help?" "Thanks, but I've got it covered." As I was making progress, Robert walked over to my desk again. Then, with another smug grin, he chuckled, "Is your sales prep coming along? Not that it matters. It's an impossible deal for someone like you." With that, he headed back to his desk. I ignored him and continued working on my tasks. Finally, the proposal was complete, and I was ready to head out for the sales pitch at Riverside Trading. I'm heading to Riverside Trading for the meeting. With the materials in hand, I left the office. Robert watched me with a cold, mocking gaze. I felt a little nervous. It was my first sales pitch since transferring to headquarters. Good afternoon. I arrived at Riverside Trading and stepped into the meeting room. Inside, a stern-looking man was seated. He looked about the same age as me but carried an air of authority. Cautiously, I glanced at his face. He stared right back at me.
"I am Tyler Newman, the CEO. A pleasure to meet you."
Surprisingly, Tyler introduced himself before I could. "So, this is the difficult CEO I've heard about." That thought crossed my mind as I introduced myself. "Nice to meet you. My name is Kevin Johnson. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me today." Tyler remained quiet, listening attentively without saying much in return. Sensing the need to break the ice, I brought up a certain topic. To my surprise, Tyler's expression softened, and an unexpected fact came to light. Thanks to that revelation, the conversation flowed smoothly, and I was able to secure a contract with Riverside Trading. I can't believe I managed to close the deal so easily on the first try. I couldn't hide my astonishment.
"Well, I was surprised to find out you're the father of my daughter's friend. Thanks to your daughter, Emily, my daughter has been more motivated with her studies."
"Emily's the reason."
"That's right. Before meeting Emily, my daughter kept saying, 'I'll never go to tutoring.' But after meeting Emily there, she's been excited to go every week. Could you tell Emily she's welcome to visit our home anytime?"
"Of course, I'd be happy to. I look forward to working with you going forward." Tyler and I exchanged a firm handshake. That's when it all clicked. Tyler was the father of the new friend Emily had made at tutoring. During my research, I had only discovered that Tyler had a daughter the same age as Emily, and that he was known to be a doting father. That's what I decided to mention kids during our conversation to break the ice. And that's when I found out that his daughter went to the same tutoring center as Emily. Thanks to Emily, I was able to secure the deal with Riverside Trading. I was astonished by how things turned out. I couldn't thank Emily enough. Feeling triumphant, I left Riverside Trading's headquarters and headed back to the office. As soon as I arrived, Mark came up to me.
So, how did it go at Riverside Trading?
With a big smile, I replied, "I got the contract." Mark's eyes widened in stunned as he let out an excited shout.
What? Really? Riverside Trading actually signed the contract?
I was startled by Mark's loud reaction. Hearing the commotion, Robert got up from his seat and walked over to my desk.
"Hey, What kind of trick did you pull? Well, Riverside Trading is fickle, so the CEO was probably just in a good mood today. Don't get cocky just because you succeeded in one pitch. You're still just a high school grad with no real credentials.
Robert snatched the signed contract from my hands and returned to his seat. Unbelievable. He said he'd reconsider his opinion of me if I landed the deal, but instead of giving me credit, he's still belittling me. I started to believe that Robert didn't hate my work. He just hated me for having a lower academic background. But none of that mattered anymore. I decided I'd simply keep doing what I could in my own way. Today, I should buy Emily a cake as a thank you. She loves cake, so she'll be happy. With that thought in mind, I continued working through the tasks Robert had assigned to me. Then, Robert tossed another file onto my desk.
Your next sales pitch. Take care of this company.
I was furious at his arrogant attitude, but decided to take a look at the file. Turning to Mark, I asked, "Do you know this company?" Mark's expression turned grim.
This place is similar to Riverside Trading. The CEO is notorious for being extremely stubborn. No one has ever successfully closed a deal with them, and now you've been sent there.
I was speechless at Mark's words. It was clear that Robert was intentionally assigning me to companies that were difficult to work with. This was his way of harassing me, and I felt anger rising inside me. At the same time, a surge of determination filled me as I thought, all right then, let's do this. I began researching the company right away. To prepare for tomorrow's meeting, I decided to leave work early that day. On my way home, I stopped by Emily's favorite bakery and bought a cheesecake, imagining her delighted reaction as I headed home. However, when I arrived, I was met with an unexpected sight. Emily was crying in Sarah's arms. Emily had never been the type to cry easily, no matter what happened. That made me even more worried. "Emily, what's wrong?" Even after I asked, Emily just kept crying without answering. Sarah looked at me with concern.
She's been crying ever since she got back from tutoring. I tried asking her what happened, but she won't tell me anything. I don't know what's going on.
I gently spoke to Emily. "Your mom and I are really worried about you. We can help if you only cry. Can you tell us what happened?" Emily slowly lifted her face and began speaking.
There's a girl at the tutoring center named Jessica. She keeps laughing at me and calling me the kid of a low education dad. She says, no matter how hard a kid like that tries, you'll never get into university.
My mind went blank. A kid who talks just like Robert. The only people who know about my academic background are my coworkers. Cut it beef. A terrible suspicion crossed my mind. Is that girl's last name Smith? I asked, though I hoped I was wrong. Emily's eyes widened in surprise as she looked at me.
How do you know that?
My face turned pale. I knew Robert had a daughter, but I never imagined she went to the same tutoring center as Emily. She might be my boss's daughter. There's someone at work who constantly looks down on me and calls me uneducated. Emily stared at me in shock.
Dad, are you really uneducated?
She looked straight into my eyes. How should I explain this to her? As I hesitated, Sarah, who had been silently observing, spoke up.
Your dad didn't go to college. Unfortunately, there are people who belittle others who didn't graduate from college and call them uneducated. But I don't see it that way. Your dad may have only graduated from high school, but he has a stable job and works hard every day, doesn't he?
Sarah's voice was filled with conviction. It's true that I only graduated high school, but I have no regrets. Besides, even without a college degree, I closed a major deal today thanks to you, Emily. Isn't that amazing? Emily looked curious. I began telling Emily and Sarah about what had happened earlier at Riverside Trading. Emily's face lit up with joy.
So, Samantha's dad is the CEO of Riverside Trading. Samantha is such a kind person. When Jessica said mean things to me, Samantha stood up for me.
Tyler's child really takes after her father in the best way. Knowing that someone was there to support and defend Emily made me feel a little more at ease.
Dad, I love how kind you are. No matter what Jessica says to me, I'll never let her get to me. So, you shouldn't let her dad beat you either.
With that, Emily hugged me tightly. I gently patted her head. I won't lose to Robert, no matter what. I may only have a high school diploma, but I felt that I was a far better person than someone like Robert, who judged people solely based on education. In that moment, I made a vow to work hard until Robert had nothing left to criticize. Dad will never lose, so you have to keep doing your best too, Emily. And if things ever get tough, talk to me or your mom, okay? Emily nodded at my words. When her bright smile returned, I brought out the cake I'd bought. As I expected, Emily was overjoyed, and we had a wonderful time together as a family. The next day, I arrived at the office as usual. I was preparing to head out for the sales pitch at the company Robert had assigned to me when he suddenly came over and raised his voice.
So, your daughter is planning to apply to a top university. Huh? There's no way a kid of someone as uneducated as you could get in.
Without thinking, I responded, "You won't know unless she tries." Robert glared at me.
What did you just say? Someone with your level of education shouldn't even speak like that. My daughter is smart, unlike yours.
Until now, I had always brushed off Robert's remarks. However, while I could endure being looked down on, I would never forgive anyone for insulting Emily. Despite my frustration, I walked away from Robert and headed out. This was my second sales pitch since transferring to headquarters. I wondered if luck would smile on me again. Though I felt nervous, I gave it everything I had during the presentation. And once again, something incredible happened. I successfully secured another contract. It turned out that the CEO of this company was an acquaintance of Tyler, the CEO of Riverside Trading, and had heard about me from him. That's why he was very friendly toward me, and the sales pitch went smoothly. In my heart, I silently thanked Tyler. When I returned to the office, I immediately reported the successful deal to Mark. His eyes practically popped out of his head in surprise.
Kevin, that's amazing. You've really got a knack for sales.
He stared at me as if seeing me in a whole new light. Being praised by Mark made me feel a little proud, and I couldn't help but smile confidently. Just then, Robert walked over.
Don't get so cocky just because you succeeded at a second sales pitch. You're still just doing what's expected. A guy with no degree shouldn't act so smug.
When Robert heard about my successful pitch, instead of praising me, he started yelling at me. Making sales is what a salesman is supposed to do. But looking down on me just because I didn't have a college degree, that was something else entirely. After that, Robert kept assigning me to clients that no one else wanted to approach, but each time, I managed to close the deal successfully. Robert couldn't hide his surprise at my continued success.
Well, it's just luck.
He muttered so, but my performance was undeniably improving. Then, one day, something unexpected happened. While I was at the sales department, I happened to make eye contact with our company president.
So, you're Kevin, right? I've been hearing great things about your recent sales record. Keep up the good work.
Yes, sir. I'll do my best. Hearing those words from the president made me feel that all my hard work had truly paid off. The president then placed a hand on Robert's shoulder.
You must be doing an excellent job mentoring him. I'm counting on you to continue leading your team.
Robert forced a smile as he watched the president walk away. Robert clicked his tongue as he glanced at me. It was obvious that he couldn't stand the fact that the uneducated guy he looked down on was being praised by the president. Although Robert's attitude irritated me, I didn't have the time to waste on such feelings. I began packing up so I could leave work on time. Tomorrow is an important day, Emily's university entrance exam. Of course, I had taken a day off for it. I wanted to be there to support her during this crucial moment.
I'm so nervous.
When I got home, Emily was busy preparing for the big day. I had full confidence that she would pass the exam for the prestigious university. I knew she had studied diligently every day and had consistently received top scores in her practice tests. You've got this, Emily. Just give it your all tomorrow.
I will. Thanks, Dad.
Emily responded with a loud, determined voice. Finally, the day of the exam arrived. I drove Emily to the exam venue, staying by her side to support her. When we arrived at the exam venue, Emily stepped out of the car with confidence. I returned home with Sarah, and together, we waited for the exam to end. Please let everything go well for Emily. I silently prayed the entire time. Seeing me fidgeting, Sarah chuckled and said, "It's not going to help if you keep pacing around, you know." Still, the 5-hour wait felt incredibly long to me. Finally, after 5 hours, Sarah and I drove back to pick Emily up from the venue. Emily came running toward us, her face glowing with joy.
So many of the topics I studied showed up, and I even did well in math.
Hearing her excited report, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Since the exam's over and done with, how about we go to our usual French restaurant to celebrate? At my suggestion, Emily jumped up in excitement. Our family has a tradition of going to a special French restaurant on celebratory occasions. It's not exactly cheap. It's a high-end restaurant, but since it's the perfect place for celebrations, we visit it whenever we have something special to celebrate. Emily and Sarah love this restaurant.
We get to go there. I'm so happy.
I wonder what I should order tonight.
Our family, brimming with excitement, opened the door to the restaurant. Since it was dinner time, the place was bustling with customers. A staff guided us to a table by the window, and we took our seats. How about we go all out and try the full-course dinner tonight? At my suggestion, both Emily and Sarah's eyes lit up with excitement. We ordered the course meal, and dish after dish was brought to our table.
This is delicious.
Emily was eating with delight, but her gaze suddenly shifted past me to something behind us. Then, she dropped her head and looked down at her plate. Puzzled, I asked Emily, "What's wrong?" At that moment, a voice I least wanted to hear echoed behind me.
Well, what's a low education guy like you doing here?
It was Robert, speaking loudly toward my family. Behind him were his wife and Jessica. Jessica followed her father's lead, glaring at Emily and speaking harshly.
Why are you here? A fancy French restaurant like this doesn't suit you at all?
Our wonderful dinner was completely ruined by the Smith family's intrusion. Emily lowered her head, looking sad. Sarah pulled Emily close and gave me a look. Even though we were in the middle of the course, I knew we couldn't stay in the restaurant any longer, so we began preparing to leave. As we stood up, Robert shouted after us in a loud voice, adding insult to injury.
Do you really think a kid of someone with your education could get into the same level of university as Jessica?
Behind him, his wife and Jessica laughed mockingly. It was the most humiliating moment of my life. Sarah shot a fierce glare at the Smith family. We paid the bill and hurried out of the restaurant. On the drive home, Sarah couldn't hold back her anger.
The way he looked down on us like that, it's unforgivable.
Sarah said that and hugged Emily, who was sitting beside her. Emily had completely lost her energy. I'm so sorry, Emily. It's my fault you had to go through that. I apologized from the bottom of my heart. The guilt overwhelmed me as I thought that if I had graduated from college, Emily and Sarah wouldn't have had to endure this. But Emily suddenly raised her head and spoke in a firm voice.
It's not your fault, Dad. The ones who are wrong are the people who look down on others.
Sarah nodded in agreement with Emily's words. I felt saved by Emily's words. A month passed. My daily life hadn't changed much. Then, one day, when I arrived at the office as usual, there was an unusual buzz of excitement. Robert was in an unusually good mood, and the man who was always harsh with me seemed completely different today.
Kevin, do your best with your sales today.
Robert's being kind. It felt strange. Kindness was usually a good thing, but something about it felt off. What's going on with Robert? As I stood there wondering, Mark walked over to me.
Hey, did you hear? They're saying that a new branch is being established in the UK, and there's a rumor that Robert might become the branch manager. That's why he's been in such a good mood since this morning.
Robert, as a branch manager. So that's what's going on. If Robert becomes a branch manager, it'll be a huge promotion for him. No wonder he's in such a great mood. I understood the situation.
If I become the branch manager in the UK, I'll invite you all to visit England.
Robert announced joyfully in a loud voice. If Robert leaves the sales department, this place is going to feel a lot more peaceful. That thought crossed my mind. Then, a few days later, Emily's big day arrived. It was the university acceptance announcement day. Since Sarah had to work, I drove Emily to the school. Emily looked calm and confident. As soon as we arrived, Emily took off running. Where she was headed, I saw Tyler, the CEO of Riverside Trading, standing with his daughter, Samantha. I gave Tyler a polite nod.
The moment of truth. Oh.
Indeed. Emily and Samantha chatted happily. Then, the Smith family appeared.
My daughter's definitely going to pass, but your daughter, she's definitely failing.
Robert spat out yet another cruel comment. Tyler, who was standing beside me, gave Robert a puzzled and disapproving look, but I leaned in and quietly told Tyler to ignore him. Then, as Emily and I looked at the acceptance letter together, there it was written clearly, accepted. I glanced over at Tyler and Samantha, and they were smiling with joy as well. Samantha had also passed. Emily had an expression that seemed to say, "Of course I passed." Then, Robert's voice echoed nearby.
No way. How could Jessica fail?
Jessica was crying, devastated. It seemed she hadn't passed. Then Robert glared at Emily and Samantha as he made his way toward them. His expression was terrifying, and the girls looked frightened.
You two passed.
The girls nodded silently. Robert suddenly shouted,
The daughter of someone with no education must have stolen my daughter's spot. My daughter is smarter. This can't be happening.
Robert was spouting nonsense. Tyler, who had been watching, couldn't hold back any longer.
That's enough. You're being incredibly disrespectful. Of course, Emily is smarter than your daughter. In fact, Emily has even been accepted to a prestigious international university.
What?
Robert's face twisted with disbelief as he stared at me. What Tyler said was true. In fact, 2 months before her university entrance exams, Emily had also applied to a prestigious university overseas. One night, she came to me for advice.
Dad, I want to run my own company someday, one where no boss ever looks down on their employees. That's why I want to study business management at a specialized school in the UK.
Hearing the determination in Emily's voice, I decided to support her dream and help her pursue her education in the UK. Emily worked hard and stayed focused on her studies. Last week, we received the acceptance letter from the British University. When I explained this to the Smith family, they left without saying a word. Tyler turned to Emily and said gently, "Don't worry about what people like that say. Just keep moving forward on your own path." I thanked Tyler, and Emily seemed resolute.
I may have gotten into the local university, but I'm going to the UK. I'll study business management and become a CEO someday.
Samantha looked sad that they wouldn't be going to the same school, but she smiled and said, "I'll be cheering you on, Emily." Emily returned her smile warmly. The day after the acceptance announcement, when I arrived at the office as usual, our company president was standing in front of my desk, waiting for me. Wondering what was going on, I greeted the president, and he said something completely unexpected.
I want you to be the branch manager for the new office we're opening in the UK.
My eyes widened in surprise. Me, the branch manager, not Robert. Hearing this, Robert quickly approached my desk.
Sir, Kevin hasn't even been at headquarters for a full year. There's no way he's qualified to be a branch manager.
Robert looked at me with an expression of disbelief, but the president continued speaking without hesitation.
The reason I'm choosing you, Kevin, is because you've successfully secured contracts with companies that our sales department could never close before, and our profits have been steadily climbing because of your efforts. I'm confident you'll do an exceptional job in the UK as well.
However, Robert still wasn't convinced.
I could achieve even more if given the chance.
The president frowned at Robert's words.
I've received complaints from your team about your poor treatment of your subordinates. I can't entrust the UK branch to someone like that.
The president's words made Robert fall silent. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I never told the president about how Robert looks down on me, so who did? I glanced over at Mark and saw him flash me a peace sign. So it was Mark who spoke up for me. I smiled at him.
Well, Kevin, what do you say? Will you take on the challenge?
I made my decision. I want to continue doing the sales work I love, freely and proudly. I'll do it. The president beamed and gave me a firm pat on the shoulder.
I'm counting on you.
With that, the president left the sales department. Robert stared at me, his face full of frustration, but he didn't say another word. After Emily's graduation, our family moved to the UK. By coincidence, Emily's university was located near the branch office where I would be working. Together with my beloved family, I embarked on a new chapter in life. Later, I heard from Mark that Robert had become unusually quiet ever since I was appointed branch manager. As for Jessica, she ended up enrolling in a local, regular university. I sincerely hope that Robert has learned not to look down on others based on their education. Whenever I think back to the harsh treatment I endured from him, I still feel some anger, but in a way, I have Robert to thank for where I am now. Moving forward, I'm determined to keep working hard while cherishing my family.